Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another AFL Fantasy Fanatics Tuesday night Q&A. Bit of carnage going around this round, so we're going to be chatting about all that and on the eve of our last week of two trades as we go into the buys next week. We're chatting on Tuesday, the 20th of May, for anyone listening back to the pod or the video ahead of round 11. I'm your host, Bales, and you can find me at BAILSDT across the socials. And joining me is a couple of my co-hosts and fellow AFL Fantasy Fanatics, but someone who's had a good week. Finally, it's been a long time coming, and he wasn't here to gloat about it on Sunday night. It is obviously Jordox. Jordox, mate, how are you? Before we chat fantasy, how is the weekend? Obviously, we chatted about Sunday. Obviously, a pretty tough week for pretty much the whole footy community, but obviously particularly the Selwood family, mate. But besides that, mate, how did you find the weekend?
Yeah, had a good weekend. Got to the G on Saturday to watch our Crowies. Fall short again against Collingwood. But no, I had a good weekend, mate. And yeah, no, it is nice. It is nice to have a good weekend of scoring. I feel like it's been a while, and you know, certain things go your way, and you get a bit of a feeling that it could be a good week. But then, you know, Sunday comes and smacks you in the face. So it was nice that when it was all said and done, I did have a reasonable weekend. So it was good.
Yeah, exactly. No, good to hear, mate. Good to hear. And jumping on again is another one of our co-hosts. It's Jordy DeSena. Jordy, mate, how are you?
Good, mate. Yeah, going all right. Been chatting, with you last few days, working out these trades. So, bit of carnage, and I don't know what to do. So I'm keen to chat.
Yep, exactly. Yep, yeah, we got a bit to talk about. So, but we do have to turn to Jordox and see how he went on the weekend. So, Jordox, mate, what was your score? What was your round rank, more importantly, and then what was your overall rank currently sitting at?
Well, I've built it up. It's probably not as good as I was saying, but no, I did score 22.44, and the round rank was like 2,200, I think, which is certainly the best I've had this year. And most importantly, my overall rank had a big jump. So 4K I came in, and I now sit at 7,654, which is good to see.
Yeah, well, you give me hope because I was ranked around sort of your areas before this week, and you jump up 4,000 spots. What's to say I can't jump up 4,000 spots this week?
Oh,
so
exactly.
I'm trying to be positive. I need to make like my own team. I need to make use of these buys if I want to salvage anything from this season. But mate, plus and minus 3 for you. Who are you giving it to?
+3 can go to. Oh, geez, the rucks were pretty nice. Captain Cherry and Rowan Marshall on debut. No, I'll go. You know what? I'll go Jack Sinclair because I know sore spot for you, Bales. I know it was sort of him or Wanganeen Miller for a lot of people, and that was a big swing this week, which really helped me. So I'll give it to him. Sinclair, after, he's been pretty so-so for a period. So good to see a big one out of him. The -3, I'm not going to give to a player this week. I noticed on Sunday night, Guesty gave it to you, Bales. I'm not going to do that. But my -3 this week goes to Brad Scott because he robbed me and everyone else like me who took a punt on El Hawley on field. He robbed me of 30 points because I could have taken Vice's 59, but I thought the position I'm in, got to go for it. I reckon El Hawley can hit me a 70. And then Brad Scott, in his infinite wisdom, thought, we're getting absolutely smashed here. I'm going to take off the one player who's bringing a little bit of excitement around the footy, and that'll be El Hawley. And off he went on 29. And yeah, lift your game, Brad Scott. It's not good enough.
It was quite stiff because they were very poor, and to just sub out the guy that had been the starting sub a few times and a young player, we didn't actually chat about too much on the weekend, but it was pretty stiff. I thought maybe he should have maybe subbed that tactically a big name and make a big move, but he didn't quite do that. But cracking week, mate. And
not to go on about, but he brought on Dylan Shield, but then Dylan Shield didn't have any CBA, so it's not like he brought him on to play him in a role that he'd been okay at recently. Anyway, that's enough of that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, very, very interesting. But good week, mate. And just imagine if you had Bicey on field, you would have actually would have probably been a
30
top
points.
1,500, maybe top 1,500,
Could have
maybe
been.
top 1,000 for the week. So,
Oh, you know what? Very
actually,
lucky.
no, you would have been the top scorer in the Content Creators Cup this week if you had fielded Bice. You would have scored a 22.73, and you would have pipped who got the top score in the end? Harmy, who got a 22.68.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's all right.
Oh,
I'm just glad
good
I got a
week.
win in that.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm very happy I got the
Yeah.
win, like over Guesty. So very, very happy with that one on the weekend. But boys, before we do get into the carnage, because there's a lot of carnage, but I think we have to start off talking about buys, because buys are obviously I've only got 5 trades before we have got the first week of best 18. So I thought we'd do sort of quick sort of round the room and see how many green dots you guys have got. I think most people have got sort of the same number of premiums over most weeks. But Jordy, I'll go to you first. How are you sort of currently structured? So go from green dots and then how many you've got for each week currently.
Yeah, so this is after 2 trades this week. I'll have 18 for round 12. 13 looking like 22. 14, 21, 15, 21, 16, 23. So I think I'm all right for the rest. Just around 12 is the one with 18. I would like to get that up to maybe 20, I think. But I'll have 3 trades next week to deal with that. I think if you can get 20 round 12, that's a big one, because then you're going to have 3 trades. And then if you can try and get at least 21 on the buys, I think you're going to be really good. Because obviously if you've got a ruck, you might not be able to cover that. So depending on which rucks you got, I think having 21 is going to be a good sign, I reckon.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, actually, because a lot of people's benches are obviously looking pretty grim. There's a lot of red dots. Some people have got maybe 1 green dot, 2 green dots, maybe 3 on their bench. But if you can have 4, 5, 6, maybe even 7 green dots and have a lot of these green dots on the bench, that could be where you potentially make up some of these points that maybe missed early in the season. That's what I'm trying to attack this year. And I think a lot of people, that's maybe what they're going to try and do, is maybe move on a couple of red dots next week, move on maybe a guy that's not getting it done, and maybe banking cash ready to upgrade and get through the numbers. So, yeah, if you can have over 20, I think, each week, I think that'll hold you in pretty good stead. If you've got 21, 22, you're laughing. So, Jordox, how about you, mate? How are you looking through the buys?
Look, I put together a spreadsheet a couple of weeks ago, but I haven't updated it. So, but at that point, I think it's pretty similar now. Round 12, around 18, 19. So I don't mind being a little bit low there. That's where you can get started, and then you should be okay for the rest of them. 13, I'm fine. 14 is looking tight at the minute with 17. And then 19, 21 for the next 2. So at the moment, it's round 12 and round 14 that's going to need my attention and consideration with the trades for the next couple of weeks.
Yep, I like it. My numbers are actually quite funny when I look at it here. So my numbers through the buys. So round 12, I've got 19. Round 13, I've got 21. Round 14, 19. Round 15, 19. Round 16, 19. So I feel like I've got it pretty balanced over there. And obviously that's counting a Buslinger, Boxall, Boyd, Stone, and Hasty red dots. So if I can trade a couple of those guys to some green dots, we might be having 20s, and with some trades, I'm hopeful that we can get going. Obviously, I'm probably a premium behind a lot of people, but if I can have a few extra numbers, that might be able to make up for that missed premium. So maybe, you never know, Boxall might be back this week. So who knows? We'll have to see how everything shakes out.
Good chance, I reckon.
Yep, exactly. So, yes, that's how we're currently running there. If you are watching, probably not live chat, probably don't sort of spam everyone putting in what their numbers are. But if you're watching on the replay on YouTube, comment below what your green dots are like. So obviously do it in the format and let us know, because I'm actually keen to see how everyone out there is looking for the buys. So, yeah, comment below on the video. Cool. Let's get through to the carnage now. So we have got plenty of carnage, boys, this week. So obviously it started on Saturday with Jason Horne-Francis doing his hamstring, and he's going to be out for, they've said, for 4 weeks. Could be 3, but probably likely 4. I don't know if Port are necessarily going to rush him back, just the way they're going at the moment. Then we had pretty much same game or same time. Finn Callahan, partial dislocation of the shoulder. He's going to miss 3 to 4 weeks, I believe I read. And then we got news of Jack McRae, punctured lung, so he's going to miss 2 to 3 weeks. So he won't be, I can't see him being back before their bye. That'll give him 3 weeks off. Could be back post-bye, but just guess have to see how he's recovering. And then there's all rumours flying around. So, like, Nick Dacos didn't train today, but Mitch Cleary said that he expects him to be fine. He's obviously playing a little bit sore. And the Wanganeen Millera, people were saying about there's something wrong with him, but he finished the game out. I think it was just cramping there, but he was clearly sore. So something else to keep an eye on. And then Xavier Lindsay, who I read when I got out of the car from getting home from work, saying that apparently he went to hospital as well and was having trouble with speech and swallowing. So that's great. Another potential bullet there. And then we've got bad benches and people out there who knows maybe copping a potential donut because people might still have a Jaiden short or holding on to these guys that hasn't come back. So Jordy,
it's bad news on a short as well if you are holding because it's another 2-3 weeks for you.
Yeah, which is not very good at all. Well, Josh, I got you because you were speaking there. So, I guess it's going to be team by team sort of case in terms of how you'd prioritize sort of trading these guys out and everything like that. But I guess the common three for people, a lot of people have moved off of Jaiden Short. So the common three for people, if they've been really unfortunate, is Jace Horne-Francis, Jack Macrae, and Finn Callaghan. That sort of seems to be where the three have ended up. How would you prioritize these three? Because they've got pretty similar sort of time frames in terms of when they're going to be back. It's going to be within the next month they're going to be back, or around that mark. How would you prioritize each of them there?
I don't think it kind of matters because I reckon next week you trade out the one that you held. 3-4 weeks for all of them is like I can't see how you could carry that through the buys, even though it is good players. I mean, Macrae himself, I was looking at him today. I hadn't even realised he actually hasn't been that good. Like in the context of, if I could hold him, I'd have a unique over everyone else. He hasn't probably been at the level that's a play. And
one ton his last 8 or 7 or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was a big ton as well, yeah.
But just in general, I mean, say, God forbid, touch wood, Bailey Smith went down, it's 2 weeks. There's a play there. Ooh,
what was it? There was rumours that, again, he didn't train today. He was inside or whatever, but I think that's just a management thing. Like, there's no way he's missing. Surely. Like, not with the build-up for the game. Surely not.
No, well, that happened last week. Andy Brayshaw didn't train, I think, on the Monday or Tuesday.
I think
it's just part of load management. Yeah,
it's just that point where we're 10 weeks into the year, round 11's upon us. Like and they've had pre-seasons and everything. They just want to get these guys through. Like you don't have to train every day. Like
Smith is he's a big page turner, and the thought of him maybe missing the game against the Dogs is always going to get attention. But to your question, I don't know how you prioritize them. I think all three of them have to be gone in the next 2 weeks for you, though. So, maybe it's depending on when their sides play this weekend, if you could play it that way, or if it's just a case of who your targets are and you get the most expensive ones out first. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I think you raised a good point right at the very end there. I think it comes down to what you can afford. Like if you need to trade Finn Callaghan and Jack Macrae, who are the two most expensive ones there. Funny, Finn Callahan's the most expensive out of all three, which I thought was quite interesting. But I think you trade those two to get the most cash possible. And I guess if you hold Horne-Francis, if you then all of a sudden hear next week that he's going to be back post the bye and he's only going to miss a couple of weeks, then all of a sudden it's like, well, you might hold him through his bye, right? So I feel like out of the three, I'd go Callaghan and Macrae out first. So I feel like those two injuries could be a bit longer, whereas I think Horne-Francis, if he's fine, could actually come back post the bye. I think he'll still be around 14 when he comes back, so he'll miss round 13 as well. But I agree. I think it depends sort of what you can do with those moves. Jordy, would you agree with that? Do you sort of go the two most expensive guys out first?
I think so, because then you can get the guys that you want. As soon as you asked that question, I was like, my mind went to, I guess, like, what are they doing currently? And, like, obviously Callaghan is averaging 94. So he's not really ever going to be a top 8 mid. We thought maybe he could be, but he's not going to be. He's averaging 94. Whereas Macrae and Horne-Francis are probably close to, top of their line, or they'll be in the mix. So I probably have Callaghan, ahead of that. He's up to 6 weeks. So I'd put him number 1. because he's not going to be, I don't think, a top guy. So I think we can flick him off. But I agree. I think with the price, just get the two best guys. Like, you might be able to get a Nick Martin now by trading in Callahan, and then, maybe you go on McRae to, one of those lower guys if you can get both of them. So, yep.
Yeah, agree. If you had a Jaiden short, Jordy, where would you rank him in terms of where you'd trade him out in those four?
Yeah, well, he's a 1 to 2 weeks, isn't he? So the best case, you hope it's a 1 week. It was a calf complaint that was said on the report. So I think, maybe you have to still trade the other guys out, because what if he comes back next week? It's going to help you. Ideally, I'd love to get rid of him as well. But if you're in that spot, perhaps you just have to hold him, I guess. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think I'd put him last, just because he's a little bit cheaper, and if you get him back in a week, I know he's not best 18, but he's probably a guy that if he's back next week, fantastic. He's probably the one out of all these guys that is, he is the one that's most likely to potentially be back next week. The other guys, Horn-Frant's got to buy, and Callahan and McRae won't play. I don't think next week. So, based on Tomo, they definitely won't. So, I'd agree. I'd put him at the bottom of the list there, because I can see a lot of people here that have got multiple bullets and asking some questions. So let's get stuck into some of these, and we'll sort of chat through the targets and stuff we'll get sort of throughout here. So we've got a few super chats to kick us off here, and Tim Ashworth's got the first one saying, is Jordox in the kitchen? So where are you situated, Jordox? Most people that watch know that it's not quite, it's a bit different. And the new fresh cup as well.
I've got well, I'm in the 10K club now. I've got to sharpen up my image, and I've got a new camera, so it's sort of what I'm in the same spot I'm usually in. And I did get a haircut. Thanks for all the comments. It's nice. It's nice when you get a haircut and people say, "Hey, your hair looks good, mate." Thank you.
Exactly right, mate. No, I love it. But Tim Ash just got this one super chat here directly after saying Kako, Bice, Nasaya, McRae. And he doesn't have Simpson, and he's got 60K in the bank. What does he do? So Jordy, sort of out of those, I think McRae's the one that's got to go. I think that the other guys will be playing. So it's almost just as simple as going like a Kako down to a Simpson, and then just going to McRae to a premium in a line that you can get.
I reckon. I think that's a good move. I think that's going to give you. You might as well hold Bias, I think, for buyers. Kako's going to give
nice run.
Yeah. Kako's going to give you a score in Simpson. Hope you can get some more 60s. 60K is enough to get to a Sinclair or even a Martin, I think, from McRae. Especially, you might. How much is Kako? You might even bank a bit of cash there too. So
90, about 90K. So you'd have 150K to put on McRae, which is pretty much anyone, in the forward line.
There you go. So you could even, if you got DVP, you could even go to a big dog like your boy Jordan Dawson Bales.
Yep. Not a bad shout. Dawson could go well this week. So, that's a very, very good point there. Jordox?
I was just going to say, I'm not sure why he's your boy. He could be our boy. I mean, we do share the same first name, but that's fine.
Mate, you've got your good rank, and you've in your good week to enjoy. Leave this thing. Give me something.
That's fair. God, he was good on the weekend.
Jordox, because on Sunday Night Pod, Bales has said, and we reiterated his M1 for the season, Dawson. So that's why I went there.
Yeah.
No,
he sure is.
Love it.
Yeah.
We've got a few super chats coming through here, so appreciate the extra support from people out there. Very much appreciate. So Johnny Tester's got a super chat. Thank you, mate, and thank you to Tim as well for the first couple there. But Johnny Test, Jordy, trade Horn-Frantz and hold McRae for Simpson and Sinclair. So this is what a few people are looking at, because a lot of people that have got the double bullet of Horn-Frantz and McRae, which I would say is probably 80% of people. I think a few people don't have the JHF one, but everyone's pretty much got McRae. Do you maybe hold one of them to get Cooper Simpson, or even trade one and just bank a whole lot of cash, depending on who you're playing on field, obviously? Or do you just think you go, worst case, get a Kitty Coleman or a Bergman if people are good on the round 12 bye, even though I probably would not wait one more week till after his bye, or someone like that, a bit of a cheaper option to maybe make some cash there and get Simpson next week? Where would you be sort of landing with Simpson? Because I think we all agree Sinclair's a good option this week.
See, I've played around with this because at first I was like, oh, well, Simpson, I feel like I really need for cash gen. But in my position, I also need points on field. So I'm going to have to pass up Simpson, unfortunately. The other thing is he is a rookie. Apparently, he played forward a bit more this week. So, we've got, I think, is O'Driscoll a test this week? We just don't know what the goal is. I guess there's risk there with a rookie that he could come in, he could be a sub. We saw that with what Jordox said with Sardal Hawley. We thought he was a great option as a rookie, and you put all your stocks into him, and then he gets subbed off. So there's obviously some risk there. I do think he's a good rookie, but I think I've looked at this, but I think I'm going to have to miss him, and I think I'd rather just try and get the points on field and go Sinclair and lock in someone else. And if you want to do cash, maybe I know some people are doing a kitty, as you said, Bale. So I think I'll be going for points on field.
Yeah, I think I agree. It's an interesting one, but I think Simpson you can bring him in next week, right? He's still going to be mid 300k. You can bring him in. You've probably got a bit of even more confidence that if he plays again, and you see him named next week, then you're like, well, here we go. This is multiple games in a row. You feel a lot more confident because it feels like these rookies this year. Normally, I'm like, I want to watch a week and then launch, but I feel like this year you probably want to see like 2-3 games from them to make sure they're not sub just to bring them in because the cash gen is not great.
I don't think we've ever had a year where we've hated the sub more. I just feel like it's been torture trying to pick kids, especially like in Dream Team when you're looking for someone on the bubble or for super coaches, and you find someone and you just can't trust that they won't be the sub. It's been so hard to find them. But I think with Simpson, he's a great get. But yeah, I think the situation that you're in has to dictate whether you get him or not. And I don't think it's like, when Bice scored that 125, it's like, we'll just stop everything and get him. I think Simpson's great. I'm getting him. I'm glad I can, but there'll be others.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because I know you're not a Horn front zoner, and I think this is actually a good time for those people that have only got a McRae or have only got a Horn Francis to take advantage of that and go get a Cooper Simpson to make you some cash, or go and get that trade and get that rookie off field and maybe do like a McRae down, maybe bank 80k. Then you might be able to go like a bias up to someone there. So I think you can, people if you're in a good position, take advantage of it because a lot of people are just going to be sideways in guys this week and not really making an upgrade. So if you can, I would definitely try and look at doing something like that. Bailey Lolacetus, generous super chat here. Thank you very much, mate. Jordox actually saying McRae and Daniel for Nick Martin and Cooper Simpson, pocketing 400k to attack next week. Or do I go McRae and Cleary to Martin and Simpson? Or go McRae and Daniel for Martin and Bergman. Side Bragg scored 2,300, gone from 24k round 9 to 8k round 11. So, Bailey, thank you. There's more hope. That us Bales have got to give each other hope.
For Bailey, yes.
Yes, exactly. So both hope for Bailey Lolacetus and myself, which is very, very good there. But yeah, Jordox, where would you go? Would you go McRae and Daniel at to bank more cash? Because Martin and Simpson seems to be the one you're looking for. Or do you just go Martin and do you just wait for Bergman? He's got the round 12 bye. Do you just watch him for one more week and then see it again? And then which option would you go for?
Yeah, I love the Bergman pick, and I nearly went there myself. But unfortunately, when Port lost all those defenders in the first half, they had to push him back. So I'd be hesitant to jump on Bergman until I see team sheets on Thursday to see who are Port going to bring in to allow Bergman to stay in the guts. Who are Port playing this week, actually?
We've got Freo.
Freo. Yeah, so perfect. Bergman can go with a Brayshaw or a Sarong. So I think that's on. I'd just like to see what Port do in terms of the list on Thursday. The first two are probably the ones having 400k just doesn't that just completely foolproof you next week if there's more carnage. The only thing is with 400k, if we do cop an injury to a shared player and it's an obvious trade out, you might end up carrying that cash from week to week.
Is that? I don't think that's a bad thing on the buys because you're going to be because next week it doesn't matter if you don't use it all, right? You're almost preferring to keep a bit of that in the bank because you've got your Bont, Butters, Cherry, Sheasel, all these gun players coming off the buy, and you're going to be wanting to get these guys in, particularly like a Bont who top price, and Butters is going to be getting cheap as well after his. Thank you to Mullen for getting him a 46. Sorry to those owners of him there, but everyone else that's targeting him are all licking their lips because he's going to be mid 900k probably round, because I think he's got Bedford post buy as well, so he's going to be someone that's going to be quite cheap. So you're trading Daniel, and he's got the buy next week with a bit more money, or are you trading Cleary and just get rid of the rookie, have a little bit less cash, but you keep Daniel for this week?
Yeah, I feel like you go McRae and Cleary for Martin and Simpson, particularly with Sheasel moving up the field again, which is what we've been needing as Caleb Daniel owners. And I know it didn't result in a big score for him on the weekend, Daniel, but, from what I could see, it was a pretty contested game of footy. There were about 8 billion stoppages. That's how the Ruckman did what they did. So, for Daniel to score 77 in a game like that, I actually think is pretty good. He had the bulk of the kick-ins. I reckon you could hold him for one more week. And Cleary, you just want to get him out before he drops any more money.
Yeah, exactly. I would agree with that one there. Chris has got this super chat here. So Jordy's saying he's got Short, McRae, and the bag. Was going to go McRae and Short to Martin and Jack Graham and play Lindsay on field to cover JHF. So in terms of trade outs there, I think what you've probably got McRae and Horn Francis. We probably said that a little bit before, and you're holding those two and just hold Short. Was that what you'd be doing here?
Yeah, I think so. Short is, you probably got to get, I don't know. I don't love Jack Martin. I love
Jack Martin.
Not Jack Martin.
Right.
He's played it this year.
I don't love Jack Graham. I love Nick Martin, but obviously perhaps he's gone Graham because he needs that cash. But maybe you can facilitate something else if you do Horn Francis and hold Short. I think that's what I would go with it.
So Short's a little bit more expensive, I think, than Horn Francis now. But yeah, you can still go get Martin for one, and I'm trying to think exactly if there's another short. Maybe if they've got DPP, Chris got DPP, maybe Levi's in the mids, maybe someone like that. Maybe go and get yourself.
Do you just get a Kitty
Coleman fence or something like that? I'd rather Kitty if he can make that work, obviously.
I think I'd rather Kitty over Graham because they're probably going to score similar, I would have thought. I know Graham had a decent score, but they played St Kilda and they won. And he's actually CBA's, he's not like he's the main CBA guy. I think he's hovering about 33% for the year. So he's not, they're obviously like on the weekend they had Hoff and these other guys rolling through there. If you look at West Coast CBAs on the weekend, I think they tried out like 8 guys on there. So Minnie's obviously trying to get that mix right. And we don't know about Graham. He might pop a good one. And I'd rather get Kitty and make money.
Well, if we're looking at
he's had a couple of weeks. He's had a couple of really good weeks, and he's been building for a bit. But he's very reliant on the tackles, and I think what you just said sums it up, Jordy. That West Coast midfield is pretty volatile. They're trying a lot of things. Tim Kelly's playing at half forward at the minute. If he gets a bit of form, they might put him back. I think if you're going Graham, the exact same price is Peatling, and I'd feel more comfortable with him as a forward option. And then, like you said, with the DPPs, you got Coleman, you got Callum Mills, who I'm sure we'll talk about, and even Filippo we'll talk about, I'm sure. I think the score would have scared a few off on the weekend, but I still think he's an option as well.
Yeah, I think if you're looking at Graham, I think I'd definitely go Peatling instead. And people I haven't even mentioned. I don't mind a Grind Myers, who's a little bit cheaper. He's got the Ren 16 buy. He's someone you trade at that buy. And you've even got like a Dylan Moore who's still sub 700k. I'd prefer all of those guys over Jack Graham, but I'd almost prefer if you can go Kitty Coleman, bank a bit more cash, and then you can get a better upgrade next week just to bang it. But I'll probably go Peatling out of those if you're still wanting to get those points on field there. And Shane's got this super chat as well. I like this one, Jordy. McRae to Martin and Horn France to Holmes, or delete the app? Well, don't delete the app. Stick around. It would keep going. But tick for me.
I think you would approve that, Bales. They're probably 2 guys that you're looking at the last couple of weeks or even this week. So, yeah, big tick. I think that's a good move.
Is that Jack Martin, though?
Or is it Dusty?
No,
Dusty coming back out of retirement.
I can't believe I did that. Anyway.
Oh, no.
Mate, all good fun. But yes, no, Shayan, do those trades and don't delete the app. Keep sticking around.
Or if you delete the app can be frustrating, but still use the desktop version. So yeah, still play.
Yeah. Figsy saying, hey guys, I've got Short, McRae, and Horn Francis, 1K in the bank. What should I do and who to bring in? Well, it's very hard, Figsy. We don't see your whole team, but as we said, prioritizing, you probably go McRae and Horn Francis out of those guys there and maybe try and do, if you can do like a 1 down, 1 up, maybe you go one of them down to Kitty or something like that, and then the other one up potentially if you got some DPP, or maybe just going for a couple of 2 solid forwards to bring in. That's what we'd advise. And we answered Ben's question before. He's saying Hornbag, McRae, Finn, pick 2 to go. I think we said, yeah, Finn and McRae would probably be where we'd order those guys. A lot of questions here about obviously the common ones there. Nathan Lancaster, Jordox, so he's asking about ticking these off. Horn Francis to Dylan Moore and McRae to Nick Martin. What do you think about Dylan Moore?
Yeah, I liked the play a couple of weeks ago.
It's got 61 in the first half last week. Had a quiet second half, but it was up in Darwin.
They've got some soldiers to come back, Hawks. They rested a few, and I know Nash will be back. Mackenzie's probably going to be back. I don't know. He is cheap. I reckon. I just still think Filippo, who's cheaper, is still the one that's more likely to work out in the end. But yeah, I'm pretty split. What do you reckon, Jordy? Dylan Moore, worth the leap of faith?
I'm just going to have a look. So he's 696. People were chatting about Shai Bolton. Well, how much is he?
He's about 7.
Yeah, 732.
I think I'd rather. I've got a different view. I think I'm personally not going to touch Moore or Filippo. Like Filippo, I think will get more mid-time with McRae going out in time. But from watching it on Sunday, I don't know. He low time on ground. He didn't look. I don't know. He didn't look like it was giving me any confidence to get into him. So I think he will come good, but I think he needs to build that match fitness. So I'm just going to wait on that. And Dylan Moore, I don't know. He's priced. He's probably one you could take a punt on because he's priced at 70, I think. And if he could do a 90, maybe you get some value and then maybe you trade him, post buys luxury. But I can't really see him. I don't know why he's not doing what he did last year. But I think I'd probably rather punt on a Shai Bolton. What are your thoughts?
I'm worried about the Shai Bolton one. It just reminds me of the Cozzy Pickett type move, both last year and this year, where he's got a 22 3 weeks ago. That's the thing I don't love about it. And the thing I've thought about with these forwards is a lot of people are going to be searching in these areas, like your James Peatlings, your Grind Myers, your Dylan Moores, Shai Boltons, Filippo's. Like we've talked about all of them. We think that they've all got some potential upside. But I feel like you're not really getting a sideways switch. You're going and downgrading. So if I'm looking at that, if you've got DPP, again, I'm looking at going to a Kitty Coleman instead, banking more cash and using that for next week. Because the other thing I love about Kitty Coleman, round 16 buy is perfect. So if we can get 100K or so out of him up until his buy, he probably goes at round 16 at his buy. Or if he's your worst player in your team at D6, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world if he's your worst player there. I just like the buy. I like the price. But obviously, a lot of people some people aren't going to have DPP, but I know a lot of us do have that DPP. So if you can make it work, then great. But if not, obviously, maybe you get creative and get one of these guys potentially in there. We do have a couple more super chats here. So thank you to the people. So Johnny Tess has got this one. So Jordy saying, just a thoughts on wines if it suits the buy. So look back to prime wines on the weekend, obviously with Horn Francis out. I don't think you can go him this week with obviously with the buy the week after. But is there any interest post buy?
I like it actually. I think he's got the buy obviously next week, so it's hard to buy into that because
What's his price?
Yeah, he's 843K. Probably a little bit pricey. I don't know. It would be good if he was a bit cheaper. I think he could be a play potentially. I don't know if I'd be getting him this week though with the bye.
Yeah, agreed. And you're the same with a Bergman. You'd wait just to see the role. He's still not going to be that much more expensive after this week. You'd rather watch the role, see how it goes, and then bring him in round 13 if you see what you like.
I think so. I think it's
like
pretty.
what you see. Sorry, wrong way around.
Yes. I think it's hard to trade into someone now with a bye next week. Like, I feel like you might as well just wait and then get them a week after and get someone else. And they're not like Wines and Bergman are going to go up heaps in price. I wouldn't have thought. And yeah, we'll have more data. And I really do like Bergman. I think I brought him in last week because I didn't have too many options defense, and he's looking great. And then obviously the injury. So I'm really hoping, as Jordox said, he does a roll on Sarong or Brayshaw and he's back in the guts. And we bring in some defenders. So I like him. So yeah, I think we can watch on that. Yep. But someone has to take Hornets midfield role. So Wines will probably get a tick. Bergman, maybe we play Boak, Jackson Mead. Someone will have to go as a piece in there. We saw Rosie go in there actually last week.
Don't want that to run the deep.
Get him out of there, Jordy.
Yeah,
one more week. I think he can play. I don't care where he plays after because he scores well in either. Just this week, just keep him.
If Rosie plays full time mid this week, he will still get DVP because he's ticked way over the defense. He's on like 57% defense. So he might go push it down. Yeah, it doesn't matter where he plays. He'll get. He's locks from the numbers I've seen.
Great,
cool.
Great.
So yeah. Oh, as long as the only way I could see that you're looking at like a Bergman or a Wines or someone like that's got around 12 buy is if your buy structure you've got no one on round 12. That's the only way I could see someone bringing him in. But I doubt that a lot because there's a lot of popular players. So you've got at least probably 5 in your team, and that's including rookies as well, which we got a fair few in our team. Except we've got the super chat here. Thank you, mate. Jordox have the ability to hold McRae. Don't have Jason and Francis. I've got Filippo to cover him. Essentially, he's just an extra round 12 buy player, which I only have 3 of. I guess if you don't have JHF, you're still just trading at McRae, though. He's going to be missing 3 weeks for us.
Well, I don't know. No, not necessarily. I mean, ideally, yeah, you trade out the injured guy, but exceptions might have other issues around the ground. And if he's got Filippo as the cover, it's pretty damn good.
You could say he could say he could be the exception.
Yes. Yes. I was going there. Good job, Bales. No, I think exceptions is probably just not bragging, but just that's really, really well played to be able to get Filippo in as an extra at an F7, and then something like this happens, you're in a good spot. So well played.
Yeah, I'm still probably trading though personally to get the points on field, and you can bring it back
definitely. But if you've got, it just depends. Like he could, who knows what the back line looks like? For example, it might be better off doing 2 trades back there. The point is, he's in a spot where he can hold if he needs to. But 9 times out of 10, you're trading McRae.
Yeah. Jack Main has got this one, Jordy. So thinking McRae to Warner and Cleary to Simpson, playing Simpson on field, or do JHF instead of Simpson to Bolton? Any other options? So again, he's looking potentially at this here. So you've got McRae and JHF. Obviously, we talked about Bolton. Would you rather go like a McRae up and a JHF maybe even all the way down to a Simpson and just bank a whole lot of cash, or are you happy taking the punt on someone like a Shea Bolton?
Oh, this is tough, isn't it? We've sort of talked about Simpson about that cash gen. I wonder if it comes down to position of rank. Like, do you want to take a punt and go a Bolton? Or do you want to bank that cash for next week? But, he could also do another option that we said and just sort of sideways JHF and McRae and probably get 2 solid options there, right? Yeah, it's hard to rank that. I think, ideally I'd say trade them both. The second option I'd say is go down to Simpson and bank cash. And third option, Bolton if you want to take a risk, depending on your rank. How do you think about that?
So am I reading that as he can go McRae to Warner, Cleary to Simpson, or
Yes.
McRae to Warner, Horn Francis to Bolton.
Yes, that's the one.
I'd probably do the second one. Although this might be the example of where, you do sit on one for a week because the opportunity to get Simpson and Simpson's on field. Now, I reckon McRae to Warner tick and then JHF to whoever you feel comfortable with. If it's Bolton, go for it. Can you stretch, get to Peatling? Maybe a better option. Who else is back there? Yeah, there's a few options down there.
Yeah. And as I said, well, if you've got a DP pen, you can maybe look at a Kitty Coleman. That's obviously another option as well. But yeah, I'd probably go the second one. I'd just
You're
get
big on Kitty, aren't you?
It's more just it's more just because of the price, the buy. He's sort of and a lot of people, unless they had unless they had over 100K in the bank, they probably can't go like a Nick Martin and another player, or they might not even be able to get like a Sinclair and Heaney maybe sort of type. So I guess it's just, and they might not have DPP as well. So that's obviously, I just think if you got the chance to get Kitty, I just think it makes a lot of sense just with the buy this week. Just for the people tuning in as well, obviously we'll keep answering your questions, but chuck them at the bottom, obviously, because there's a heap of questions. Obviously we're flying, you guys are just sending a heap through, so if you guys just want to comment your question at the bottom of the live chat, and we can keep answering those for you for the last 20 minutes or so. Sean's got this question, Jordy, choosing one from Sinclair or Anderson, and trading JHF and trading one of JHF and McRae to one of those above. Would you save $350K to get the double upgrade next week and go Coleman, or get someone $891K or less, Heaney/Sarong? So I feel like this is in your ballpark, because this is very similar to what you're looking at doing this week. So where would you be sitting with that?
Yeah, personally, I'm looking at getting points on field just with my rank, and I'm in that same ballpark. I think I'm going to go, well, one of my options is getting Sinclair, because I think Sinclair looked unreal last week. It really hurt me with that 139. And he had 38 touches, just roamed everywhere. Comes up against Gold Coast this week.
Over Anderson? Obviously, you own Anderson.
I think so. I do. I think so. Only because Anderson, he needs lots of touches to get a score at the moment. He's very similar to Sarong, I feel. He's a great player, but Gold Coast aren't doing much chip sort of spread game. It's more, he wins it in contested and handballs it out. He had 35 and a goal on the weekend, so he needs to find touches to do it. I think where Sinclair can find a lot more easy ball. I like Anderson, obviously, because I own him, but I think I'm Sinclair number one. If you want a pod, though, Anderson's unreal, but I'm looking at potentially getting in Heaney in that price range. I would rather Heaney over Sarong. I think Sarong...
Agreed.
He had, 108 for 36 possessions? And I think a few weeks ago we saw, didn't he have a 75 and he had 30 disposals?
Yes, against the Crows, yeah, 26 handballs. Yeah, and he got like a 70-odd.
So I think Heaney is a better option. Who has Swans got this week? Swans have got Melbourne as well. He's got a good run.
They got Melbourne, Adelaide, Richmond. So I think in this scenario, Sean, I would actually go, I like Coleman as an option, but I'm suggesting Coleman for those people that can't get someone in the Heaney range or someone above that. If you're just looking at someone essentially $850K or less, I like getting Coleman. But if you can get a Heaney, I think Sinclair and Heaney is a pretty good sort of a duo option. And obviously that's what Jordy is even considering this week. So obviously we'll answer.
Something to add on Sinclair as well. Saints play 8 of their last 13 at Marvel, which is quite appealing for him.
Juicy.
Yeah. Another couple of super chats here. So Tim Ashworth saying, do you think Nasai, Wangley, Miller, and Bailey Smith are in doubt? No. Well, Nasai's playing obviously a little bit sore. Maybe it looked like cramp, if anything, and he sort of landed awkwardly after going for a mark. But he's not on the injury report. Obviously, injury reports these days, do we trust them or not? Some players can just pop up and all of a sudden they're not playing. But I think he's fine. And Bailey Smith, I'd be shocked if he didn't play, to be honest. I think it was just a management thing, getting him cherry right. They're coming off a bit of a shorter break with the Thursday night game. So I think that was purely management. So I expect both to be fine. But obviously I'm not behind the four walls, so who knows? And then Jack Main's got this one. I've got 906K available from Horn Francis, Bolton or Peatling. So Jordox, you'd go Peatling over Bolton?
Yeah, it's just safer. I mean, I like Bolton.
Agree.
I like the idea, but like you said, Bales, at 22 just 3 weeks ago. I don't think that'll happen again. I think Bolton's starting to get into the swing of Fremantle life, but Peatling, I just feel like, is pretty safe and isn't going to hurt you. And then on the right day, in the right matchup, he will lay a dozen tackles and get a nice ton.
Yeah. And Jordy, would you go Peatling as well to get the round table?
Yeah, I think, as Jordox said, safer. I think if he had DPP, I would be going Isaac Heaney. He's got 906k.
Yeah,
But
if he's got, if he's got, I know, I agree. I agree. I agree. If he's got DPP, I'd go for Heaney as well. I agree. Fast Break Frenzy says, smash the likes, everyone. Yes, if you are tuning in live or on the replay or on the podcast, then head over to YouTube if you like and want to help us out a little bit. Just smash a like on the video. We do appreciate the extra support you guys show, and a like is one of those ways that you can really help us out. It does help us out a whole bunch, and you never know, might get some new people that haven't discovered the AFL Fantasy Fanatics there and keep building the community. So appreciate everyone that does that. Either once or on a weekly basis. Very much appreciated. Your boy Zenith Jordox has asked this one here. You never know, might be your boy. But your boy Zenith has said, you mentioned his name, thoughts on Callum Mills. So played a half in the VFL, obviously mentioned on Sunday, scored a 77 at halftime. I think he played the first 5 minutes of the third quarter, then you got sort of rested for the second half. Can you launch into him straight up, or do you think he's a guy that could be a prime candidate to be subbed out of the game if they're up by a bit?
Yeah, it's tricky. I'd love the courage of doing it because it could be brilliant. And to get that 1 week ahead of everyone. It's kind of what I was hoping with Filippo the other week. Didn't pan out. I think they play on Sunday. I don't know. For some reason, if it was Thursday, Friday, I'd be more into it. But playing on the Sunday, that's just a lot of the weekend for things to not change. But I'd want to go into that match pretty early and know that he's, A, not going to start in the sub vest because you can't rule that out. And then B, know that he won't end up in it. Oh, and sorry, and you could loop him. That'd be the ideal scenario. If it was a Thursday, Friday night game, you could loop him. So pretty long-winded answer. I'm just going to have to say no, just with Coleman as another option for 200k less.
Yeah, I agree. I think that we've seen with Filippo, they're obviously easing him in, and I think they're going to do the same with Callum. I think he's going to play midfield. I actually think he's going to be a very popular in a post this week. I think he's going to go okay this week, and he's going to get like a 70 or an 80 and off of maybe mid 60% game time, and people are going to be going, oh, here we go, rolls there and everything. That's just prediction. And I think a lot of us will be getting into him next week, but I think you get the look, you get him next week, because then if anything happened, best 18 next week, you hide behind that. So I agree. I'm probably looking at him next week. Sneaker Fusion's got this one here, which I'll answer this one because this is very similar to what we had before. McRae to Sinclair, Horn France to Holmes. That's a tick from us as well. See, the other one was Martin into the Sinclair, but like
he's still on Holmes. What did you make of Holmes?
Yep, ran 16 by. I thought he was good. He got rested for the last 5 minutes as well of that game. So that he could have added another 10, 15 points to that score, and it could have been a mid-90s. And people are going, well, against Port Adelaide, well, not too bad. I hate nothing. I hate it so much when the players go off with a few minutes to go, and you're like, you're not going to get any junk. Like, come on. Unbelievable. But no, he ran 16 by. Worst case, you're trading him out at round 16 anyway. And he's got the Dogs this week, which Dogs been pretty tough, but it is at GMHBA. But then they've got 3 really good matchups. I don't have it off the top of my head, but it's like West Coast, Essendon are in there as well. And there's one other decent matchup, might be Gold Coast potentially. And then they got Brisbane and the bye. So I think that they've got a really good run. So I am ticking that off, and I like that. Golf Alien's got a super chat here. He's asked a question later on, but appreciate the super chat there. He said, imagine Thilthorpe kicks 10. Well, you never know the way he's going. He potentially could.
Who are they playing?
West Coast.
He's a star.
Well,
yeah, and obviously there's no McGovern this week, which obviously pretty sort of hearing the reports there that there's he might be meeting with a sort of specialist about concussion to see if he can come back and play, which really hope he does. That would be a pretty set end to a pretty really good career. So I'm hoping that he's back, but hopefully he can get back. What have we got here? Shayan says, I can't get Sinclair. I'm very heavy with round 13 primos. What was Shayan's super chat? It said McRae to Martin and Horn Francis to Holmes, or delete the app. Well, yeah, go Martin and Holmes. Yeah, tick from us. You still can go those two for sure. Liam Rosenberg, Jordy, Rankin, Martin, or Warner. How would you rank those three?
Rankin, Martin, or Warner? I think
That's a good question.
Martin. Yes, I think Nick Martin is a tier above those other two. I think he's obviously got the flex, which is handy in the buys. He's averaging
Round
what is a
16.
90 round 16 buy. He's averaging 99, I think. Is it Bales? I was listening to Selby. He reckons he could, we saw this at the back end of last year, even in this role, he averaged 105. So he might have a bit of value still.
Averaging
Or he
90.
maintains. Yeah.
Averaging 99.1. And people are looking at those two scores, he ran 7 and 8. From round 5 onwards, he's only had 2 scores below 100. And the reason for that was Collingwood was in the wet and he copped a big corky and had low game time, or lower. I say low, but he still played 85%, which is pretty good for most players. Then the following week played 86%, again, a little bit managed, and scored 80 against North Melbourne. But the games around that, 121, 122, 141, 105. And if there's a player that's going to feast on an easy matchup, I feel like Nick Martin is one of those players. Merritt's going to be the number one tag guy pretty much every week, and Nick Martin does what he wants. So I agree. I think defender forward, round 16, but I think he's the number one clearly. Rankin or Warner, if you had to rank those two?
Yeah, I'm going Rankin second, and then I'll go Warner third. I think Martin's a 100 guy to 105. Rankin's 95, I think, and I think Warner's 90 at best. So that's how I would rank those guys.
Yep, I like it. I'd agree. The Lachats says, Jordox, do I get Nick Dacos or Zach Merritt? So I don't know if I could be trading in a Nick Dacos right now, to be honest. I know he's got North, but he's getting managed during the week. He's getting his feet stepped on during the game. But what about Zach Merritt? He's got a 155 break even, but he's got Richmond. And if he goes 140 anyway, he's not actually going to lose that much money. Could you go to Zach Merritt this week if you're in a good team value perspective?
You could. You sure could. I'd be going Dacos, though. I know that is going to be crazy for you, Bales, because you're on the Dacos warpath. But I don't know. Sometimes you just play the averages. I mean, how often do you think Nick Dacos is going to go 4 weeks without a ton? He's just gone 3 weeks.
I think he tons up this week against North. I don't know who they will use to tag him. Like, do they bring a Tucker or a Phillips in? I don't know if North are really going to do that. I don't think either of those guys are the best 22.
Done for the year, just as a side note.
Who's that?
Tucker's done for the year.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Like, do they bring Phillips? But then again, the Phillips tag last year didn't work anyway, because Dacos ran right in the last quarter and one essentially helped Collingwood come back from that big margin.
What's his break even, Dacos?
I believe it's like a 140.
He'll be under a mil, maybe. Goodness.
145.
Wow.
I'd go Merritt if you're looking at the two this week. The Richmond matchup. Ran 16 by as well.
Easy loop on Friday night. Yep. I don't know. I still think Dacos will come good and be the guy we all want. So it's just a chance to get him now. But
yeah, I think he'll come good eventually. Yeah, it's just you don't love trading in those guys and they don't get it done. Sean's got this question: what's the ideal number of primos missing each buy? I guess it's a tough question to answer because it's obviously and apologies for using the team dependent term again, but I think it is team dependent in terms of not everyone's going to be the same. I don't think there's an ideal number. I think with the amount of buys, I think if you sort of balanced across them all, but I guess we'll just quickly sort of ask each of us how many preems we got missing on each buy. So, Jordy, in terms of preems missing on each buy, how many have you got missing? I can go first because I've got it up here for me, so I can get you guys to just quickly do it. But so in round 12, I have got Sheasel, Rosie, Cherry, and then Daniel. But obviously, Daniel will probably be gone for me, so I'll have the 3. Round 13, I'll have Nasiah Wanganeen-Miller, Andrew Brayshaw, and Rowan Marshall. Round 14, I'll have Matt Roberts, so I'm still counting in that there. He could potentially go. Nick Dacos, in round 14. So I've only got the 2 in round 14. So I wouldn't mind targeting around 14 potential premium next week. Round 15, I have got Dawson, Petrarca, Rankin. And then I've got Marek as well, who will be gone. So I've got the 3, and then obviously with Marek there being there as well. And then the last one, I have got Max Holmes, Bailey Smith, and Nick Martin. And then I've also got a Kitty Coleman who will go. So I've got the 3. So pretty even spread. Probably I want maybe one more on round 14. So pretty spread at the moment. So that's I do like that. Jordy, how are you looking with your preems missing?
I'm pretty similar. I think round 12, I've got an extra one. I've got Adam Chera there. But I've got the same players as you. But actually, I've also got Miles Bergman. So I've got an extra 2 there, which is not great. I think we're the same for the next one. The only other option I think round 14 I've got is Noah Anderson with Roberts there. And if I bring in Isaac Heaney this week, I'll have him as well. But I think other than that, it's pretty similar. I've also got Gorn. So Gorn's the next week after that. Yeah, I think I'm just a bit more on round 12. But for me, I think, yeah, I mean, we're going to have so many trades. And I think round 13 as well, you're going to have a couple of guys. You can really set yourself up that round, I think, with the 3 trades to bring in all these guys off the round 12 buy, like a Butters, a Bont, these sort of guys, even a Bergman if he does well this week, to fix that.
Yeah, I like it. Jordox?
Yeah, I reckon we're not going to know the magic number until after it's happened. We've never had 5 weeks of buys before. And I think, if you want to try and come up with a number, rule of thumb type, I look at mine and it looks like at the very least I've got 12 primos for every buy. So I reckon if you're running at best 18, if you can have, 2/3 of that is 12. So just over 2/3 of your squad are primos across the 5 weeks. I think that's a good starting point. But like you said, it's too hard to sort of put a number on it because you might have a certain amount of primos. You might have more primos than me, Bales, but my kids might perform better on field than yours. So, it's.
I don't
it's
have any
very,
kids. I don't have any kids. So
in the game, Bales, in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have to take the layups when I can, right? I'm not Roger. I'm not Luke over here that can just sort of flick them out of nowhere. Like
I've enjoyed you. I've enjoyed your comedy game, Bales. It's coming along.
Shout out to Luke, my inspiration. So yeah, trying to learn from the best. So, but yeah, no. But Josh, I was keen to know how many prems you've got missing in the buys.
Yeah, I don't know. It'd be pretty similar. I haven't figured that out. I've just got a table with how many are playing. So
the spreadsheet's spreadsheet's not quite up to date. That is all.
Well, I'm looking at who's there. I'm not going to worry about who's not there. It's about who's on the ground. That's what any good coach would tell you, Bales. Come on.
Anyway, but no, I've got but the shout to obviously Moreira's Magic. Obviously, I've got the buy plan there. It's really, really handy because I don't really know how to use Excel very well anyway. So it's good to just have it all put in there. There was a good question. Where's the question? Oh, here we go. Shady Force, Jordy. So he's saying, "Hey lads, just join the chat. All good. Better late than never, as they always say." He's like, but I'm deciding out of Dunkley, Sinclair, and Anderson. Thanks. So obviously we talked about Sinclair and Anderson. We go Sinclair. Where would you put Dunkley v Sinclair in that? So Dunkley's got the round 16 buy, but a bit more expensive.
Geez, that is a good. They're all great, aren't they? Like, I mean, Dunkley's averaging 108.6. So like he's obviously he's a great trade in. He's so consistent. Obviously, you're paying a little bit more money. I think right now Sinclair, I think, is really good value. He's at 950. He's averaging 100 for the season. I think value-wise, Sinclair is the best option. But we're coming into buys. We want a ceiling score, although Sinclair did show us that on the weekend. I think I do like Dunkley as well. I think he's a top 8 mid. I think I'll go Sinclair for the value, then Dunkley, then Ando.
Yeah, I agree. I'd be going Sinclair over Dunkley. But if you are getting a little bit heavy on round 13 and you don't have many round 16 players on buy, maybe that's split. But yeah, I think Sinclair.
It's a different. it's a different Dunkley this season too. What we're saying, we're not seeing those
very
high
consistent,
scores.
yeah.
We're just seeing he hasn't gone under 94, but he's only gone over 116 once. So it's incredibly consistent, which is just different to Dunkley in the past. But I agree with Jordy. I reckon Sinclair just ahead, 100K. That's a lot.
Unbelievable. I agree with Jordy. You said I agree with Jordy. So just, thanks, Jordox.
I just like saying that, mate.
We've got a couple more here throughout the
I
hour.
was referring to myself. I agree with myself.
But yeah, we'll do a couple more because we're at the hour mark. So we'll do a couple more to finish up here. So Tim Ashworth, another super chat. Thank you, mate. Saying, would you keep Kako and get Myers? No, I think if you can get Nick Martin, Jack Sinclair, Isaac Heaney, guys like that, I'd be happy to go Kako to Simpson and then go McRae or Horn-Francis, whichever one you've got, Tim, from there. You got McRae, so you don't have Horn-Francis. Go McRae to one of those guys there, and I wouldn't be playing around in the Myers areas. We'll buy it. Jordy says, hey, lads, great pod as always. Thank you, mate. Very much appreciate that. Can I go Horn-Francis to Martin and McRae to Sinclair, or do I have to get Simpson for the cash gen since my cash gen is like, okay, well, I'll give you another one because they're very, very good trades. We said that if I think me and Jordy, we were talking about pre-pod, if we can get the ultimate combo this week in terms of value, it's probably Martin and Sinclair. So tick,
definitely
lock those away.
Lock it in. Don't look back.
And get Simpson next week. I know cash gen is low, but you're getting two guys at value, and they're going to be near the top of their line. So, and they're both pretty cheap. So, yep, I'd be happy with that. Nick Missalidis. I hope I've got Nick. I've probably butchered that, so apologies, mate. But Jordox, he's obviously you're the host of the Finders Keepers podcast. I'm sure you've talked about this. This guy here. What do you think of Angus Sheldrick if he starts playing? 442K with a break even of 19.
Love Sheldrick. I wanted to suggest him last week at 400K, and at half time on Friday night, I was thinking I should have done that. Oh, I should have done it. Look, I love him in keeper leagues. I don't know about it at this point of the year, jumping on a 450K guy when Mills is about to return. Taylor Adams is probably going to be back, and as much as we like what we see, that there is a reason, I'm sure, that Sheldrick's been in the sub-vest so much, and that'd be around his tank, inability to probably play four quarters as a pure mid. And I'd love to see someone do it and it works because, it'd just be such a sick move. I wouldn't recommend it at this point.
Yeah. I think Mills as well come back. Just you watch it first, and he's a play you can bring in next week. So then you get the couple of weeks to make a bit of cash. If we see a good score, then even more reason. I don't mind it though. If you've got a Simpson out there, Pete, some people already got Simpson. If you have only got like a McRae and you don't have a Horn-Francis, even doing like a McRae, maybe even like slightly down to like a Chad Warner, and then going a red dot to Sheldrick on the bench, or if you've got enough money, getting a Martin and a Sheldrick, and Sheldrick's on your bench. I don't mind that as a sneaky play, but I know a lot of people aren't going to be in that boat there. Final two questions we'll go here, so one each for both of you guys. So Louis O'Leary, sorry, Jordy saying, thinking McRae to Warner and Cleary to Kitty Coleman, or do I go Cleary to Simpson and McRae to anyone? Would have to field Simpson if I went him. Thoughts?
They're both good options. You're going to make more money on Simpson, I think, and you could even get Kitty next week. But you could also get Simpson next week, as you said, Bales. Geez, that's a tough one.
Got to play Simpson.
I don't mind.
Know if I love that.
Yeah, I don't mind Warner. I don't know if we've talked about him. I've been pretty skeptical on him as a target since he got that forward status, but I really liked what I saw on the weekend. And if you look at his last 4 weeks, since he signed that contract, mind you, for the Swans, his scoring has been comparable, if not better than McRae's. So it's a pretty reasonable swap, McRae for Warner. And then I can't remember what the other part was, but like you were saying, Bales, having Simpson on field is a little bit dangerous. So maybe that's the breakout. But I like Warner as an option.
Yeah, it's probably Simpson's maybe a 60, and then the other option was Kitty, where would you say Kitty's a minimum 70?
I think he's minimum. I think I'll say minimum 60, just in case it's like against Hawthorn. But he's got the. I think he's a safer on field, and you're probably going to get at least 10 to 15 points more, if not maybe a tiny bit more, because we know Kitty is going to take a couple of kick-ins. I didn't love that. I think was it Luke on the Ball Boys pod was saying that he had a kick in and didn't even look like stepping out of the square. So Kitty, if you're tuning into the Fantasy Fanatics, please step out the square and give us those fantasy points.
So there's a good chance he is, Baz. It's his first game at the G since the last time he played at the G, which got all our tongues wagging. That grand final.
Very, very good point there. Final question is from Fast Break Frenzy Jordox. Since I've got McRae and Horn Francis currently carrying over 5K, should I go Myers and Sinclair or bring in both of the Sydney boys, being Warner and Heaney, or any other duo who's got 1.788 million to spend? Sinclair Myers, or Heaney and Warner?
Oh, well, if they're the two options, it's got to be Heaney and Warner. I don't know. I'm not that big on Heaney. I'm interested in your thoughts, Jordy, because you're looking at him this week. What do you think he's turned a corner in terms of his scoring? Do you think Mills back will help support him a bit more? What do you put his poor scores down to for the first half of the year?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I heard rumors that he was carrying like a hand injury or something. So I don't know whether that was hampering him, and maybe he's, that's gotten better now. But he's always had the role. Like, he's still getting the high CBAs. So that's the same as last year. I guess we haven't seen him accumulate it. Didn't he have over 30 touches on the weekend?
38. Kick 2 goals, 5.
Yeah. So
Pretty
that's probably is a worry that he had 38 to get only a 120.
My worry is that game was brilliant, but I feel like that could be one out of the box for what he's done this year. He's been high CBAs, pretty good, and just scores 80 to 90. It's been a concern. But at that price, where else could you go? 88.
It's like it's basically like Sarong.
Yeah,
the other one there.
I prefer Heaney in that price range. The other obviously combo that I could suggest to Fast Break Friends is if you've got DPP and you can get it done, going and Nick Martin and Kitty Coleman. If you don't have Nick Martin, I'd like that one as well. You get maybe a bit of cash as well in the bank. So yeah, there's a couple of options there.
You recommended Kitty Coleman by DPP about 8 times tonight.
Get Kitty Coleman by DPP. There you go. So,
he's keen.
Yeah. I'll apologise to everyone that's getting Kitty Coleman, because I'm at this stage. I'll go through our trades. If I bring him in, he's no doubt going to score 50.
You're scaring me off him.
Yeah. I'm just glad I'm trading out 2 players that are injured this week, so they can't play this week and go 120 on my head like a lot of these other players I get rid of. They end up doing a lot better. We will wrap up there and go through our trades and wrap up the show. But appreciate everyone that did ask a question. Apologies if we didn't get to your question. There was a lot of questions running through tonight. You guys have been smashed last few weeks on these Tuesday night Q&As with the many questions. So we appreciate everyone that tunes in live and gets your question answers. But if you'd like your question to get a guaranteed answer, then head over to our Patreon and become a Patreon member. Patreon.com/AFL Fantasy Fanatics is where you can get involved there. I'm doing a Patreon exclusive Q&A tomorrow night, recording that. So if anyone wants to get involved in that, can answer your question there, could do a full team review, everything like that. You get that for you get the Ask Me Q service for free with the Patreon membership. So if you'd like to do that, head over there. Or we've got our Friday Pre-Lockout Chat, so we'll be answering some more questions there as well. But Jordy, we'll go to your trade plans first. You got a couple of options I know you're tossing up, but what are you looking at doing with your trades as of Tuesday night?
Yep, so I've currently got it down to 2 options. I will be getting rid of Hornet and McRae. And 2 options is, one is Sinclair and Heaney in, and the other option is Nick Martin and Luke Jackson in. So
Spicy.
we'll see.
I like it.
I feel like if I want to take a risk, I might go there.
On Darcy?
Yeah, so it does. It does depend on the trade, I think, but also like the team sheet. But also, it helps my buys as well. I could flick Jackson in there for round 13, And if he's no good, I could probably flick him in round 14. I know it's probably not the best, but we do have 3 trades. Just something I'm thinking about. I think the safer option is Sinclair and Heaney. But yeah, just playing around.
Yeah, don't mind those options, mate. Jordox, what are you looking at?
Well, Bales, you can tell I had a good weekend because I already did my trades today. First time you've asked me that question, I actually have a
there you go.
reasonable answer. So I had to play today and I ended up going Cleary and McRae to Simpson and Rosie. Now, I would have let Rosie go, but I'm pretty sure the DPPs roll around Sunday night. Is that this weekend? And I don't want to miss out on that. He's so consistent and, he can go into the back line to start to fix up the back line, which is looking a little cruddy at the moment. So that's what I'm looking at.
The only thing I'd say with Rosie is that he's got the bye next week, mate. You might as well just wait one more week and you can get him on round 13. He's not going to. His break even is sitting at 107. You're probably not going to miss out on much, and just put there. But anyway, we'll chat about that. But we'll see. But that's what we're doing to choose.
And then my back line is set up then. But that's a good point. The bye.
Yeah, no, but still, Rosie's a good get though if you do go for that one. So I do like them regardless. For me, I did say on Sunday night my trades were done for the week, and then McRae unfortunately had to get injured, but hopefully speedy recovery for him because punctured lung does not sound comfortable at all. I'm going Jack McRae to Nick Martin. And I'm going Horn Francis down to Kitty Coleman through DPP. Who would have thought that's what I'm doing this week after what we've been saying? And that's banking 273K for next week, where I'll probably fix up maybe a couple of red dots, rookies, and then go like a Caleb Daniel to maybe a Callum Mills or someone like that. So, I'm pretty happy with those trades there. But that will do us for our Tuesday night Q&A. As I said, we very much appreciate everyone that asked a question. Apologies if we didn't get to answer it there. As always, as I said, if you want to head to the Patreon, we can answer it there. But if not, we will be back on Friday afternoon answering your questions live directly after Ball Boys. So if you haven't checked out the Ball Boys live show before us, then check that out. They're at 5 p.m. Eastern, and we're live at 6 p.m. So an hour after them. If you want to sort of go back to back there and answering your questions there, 6 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. per time there. But Jordy, where can the people find you across socials?
Just Jordan Descent on X. Haven't actually tweeted my rounds review from last week, but I'll have to do that. But yeah, slid a little bit and looking to potentially take a risk this week.
Yeah, like it, mate. Thank you, mate, for jumping on. Jordox, when the people find you, the Finders Keepers pod and AFL subs?
Yeah, there's always so much to go through. Yeah, I'm on X at Jordox 2020, and Finders Keepers is on X at FindKeepAFL. The Round 10 review episode came out this morning. Make sure you check it out. If you play in a keeper league, even if you play in a single season draft league, one of the questions this week was about single season, and I realized a lot of what I talk about on the pod is pretty helpful for drafts, single season as well. So definitely check it out. Finders Keepers podcast. If you play in a keeper league, it's worth your time. And then AFL subs just keeps going from strength to strength. Well-oiled machine on the weekend, working very well together. It was tricky because I was at the G for the Collingwood Adelaide game. So I asked Elle if she could do the next two, but for some reason the AFL had the twilight games together. So there I was in the rain watching the Crowies, and I was managing to get those subs out to our loyal followers at AFL subs.
Beautiful, mate. And you can find me at BAILSDT. You can find us at AFL Fantasy Fans across the socials. If you are tuning in live, please smash like on the video. And if you're watching a replay, you can also do the same. And if you're not watching live, then join us next time live if you'd like your question answered there. We are live on Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern time, 6 p.m. Perth time. And obviously Friday, 6 p.m. And 6 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Perth time. And then Sunday, we go live after the final game of the round. So make sure you check out our live shows on YouTube, plus all the other content going around there. So as I said, like, subscribe on YouTube. If you're listening on the pod, 5-star rating and review would be very much appreciated. And we'll catch you guys on Friday for our pre-lockout chat. So thanks, everyone. Have a good night. See ya.
See ya.